All right, a whole bunch of work has been done on this twin amp. This amp is a great example of a difficult situation for a tech to find himself in that the amp belongs to a very well-known musician, and I was not contacted by that very well-known musician, and I don't have a way to reach out to him directly. I have a middleman who just wants it taken care of. Whatever it needs is what I've been told, but that does not mean that there's a blank check. And a twin amp from this era has a lot of problems. Number one, the way they implemented an effects loop in this amp, which is right before the reverb circuit, makes the entire amp very noisy. Right before the effects loop, if I go from the effects send to the power amp in, which is not the same thing as the effects return, then the amp is very quiet. Both because of the way they implemented the effects return, which is in parallel in this amp, and some of the impedances involved and some of the wiring runs, even if you're not using the effects loop, there's a good bit of hiss and a little bit of unescapable high-pitched stuff on the reverb. And I would normally reach out to a client and say, do you use all these channels, or are you just using it as a twin? Because I can bypass that effects loop I'm pretty sure he's not using. But I don't have any way of starting that conversation easily. I'm going to talk to the middleman tomorrow and say, I really, really need to speak to the owner, and I won't take up much of his time, because while, maybe if you watch this channel, you think I'm some high and mighty guy. To most musicians, I'm just some guy who fixes amps, whatever. And he just wants his amp fixed. And this thing has got 3 channels, one of which sounds good. It's the clean channel. If I were to bypass the effects loop and change a lot of the wiring, I could make the reverb quiet. But right now, I've made this stock amp as good as possible, a little bit better because it had a mistake in the cathode for the reverb driver, which I fixed. The speakers it came in with were old Impedance, custom made for Fender things, special design, whatever. And the tag boards had broken off of the frames, and on each of them there was a lot of stress on the speaker because those braided metal wires had just been having a lot of tension on them. So those speakers were kaput. It's got a new pair of G12 Cs in there. The reverb tank was dead. It's got a new reverb tank in there. It's got all new filter caps. It's got a lot of new plate resistors. It has all new stuff in the low voltage supply. A lot of stuff has been fixed. I would like to fix the remaining issues with the design and maybe take out some of the unused channels. I have to speak to the owner about that. The other thing I would like to speak to the owner about is that he has a 3-position selector switch, slide switch for the output impedance. And that switch was never really rated for the current present with speakers. And that switch has gotten very intermittent on the 16 ohm tap, which is what this should have when you're just using the stock speakers. I could wire it. I could change it from wiring the 2 8 ohm speakers in series for 16 like it's supposed to be. I could change them to parallel for 4 like other twins, or I could just hardwire the 16 ohm tap to the output jacks and bypass that switch, or I can get another switch. Another switch is only $4. But, these are things that normally I speak to the owner about and get a it's a joint decision where everyone's in the same loop. And I'm just in an awkward position here where I want to impress the guy. Hell, I got married to some of his better known songs. I want him to have a great sounding amp. I have a lot of cards stacked against me here. And without doing a lot of truly heroic work, I'm not sure how great it can sound. And I don't know that he would be okay with the bill for me to make this thing sound great. But anyway, here's the amp. Bright switch. mid-gain stuff. High gain channel. I can almost guarantee he is never going to use that. Probably just going to use this channel just like this. Probably at a fairly low volume. Maybe louder than that. And now that I turn it up, now that it's not on the bench, it's in the cabinet, I'm hearing a microphonic tube. And if you turn the reverb up to get deeper levels, you get more noise. So I'm going to at least find an answer for the output to make sure that that's not going to cut out and damage anything. And I'll track down which of the tubes is microphonic and ringing out. That's a lot of fun with this kind of thing. The amp is working, the channel changing is working. You know, when it came in, it didn't make any sound because it was on the 16 ohm tap, and the 16 ohm tap on that switch was defective. The speakers were defective. There was no reverb because the tank was defective. There was a really loud buzz at all times because the low voltage supply was just burning everything up, and nothing was working right. Wasn't changing channels. The reverb was extraordinarily noisy, even noisier before because there was all this buzz throughout the entire thing. So new filter caps changed that. And this is the kind of amp that, you know, they didn't sell an awful lot of this model for a very good reason. They went from the red knob. I think the sequence was the red knob twin reverb, you know, the like 87, to this, and then they came out with the 65 reissue, which is, you know, been their mainstay. And we'll just ignore little side trips like the Cyber Twin. But, you know, if I could get rid of that last noise, I think it'd sound pretty darn good.